Okay, so thus far, when we're doing this dominant 7 chords, we've been kind of just using parallel chord structures, right? Just same chords moving up and down. But now what we're going to do is slightly different. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use, a couple of different chord shapes to kind of get, same kind of chords, but up on the guitar fretboard. Okay? So what this does is, sometimes, maybe you don't want to move up and down too much, and you want to just kind of like stay up in this position or this position. And if you're a lead guitarist, it kind of helps because sometimes if you're a lead guitar, maybe, you just want to only play like the higher parts because, bass guitar and acoustic guitar or keyboard, they have like this lower range covered. And, if everyone's just playing in this lower range, it really doesn't sound too good. You want some variety. So if you're an electric guitar player, you probably want to just kind of stay up in the same area so there's kind of a distinction between, different sounds. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to play more blues, progression because we've been kind of working on that. But I'm going to show you how to utilize just maybe 2 different type of chord shapes to kind of play the blues progression. Okay? So we're going to do an A blues progression, okay? So it's going to involve an A7 chord. Now we've learned different types of chord shapes here. The one I want to kind of like reiterate is the one that looks like kind of like this E7, chord shape. Now to play the A7 chord shape, what we're going to do is we're going to take that E7 chord shape and move it up to the 6th fret. So we know that should sound like this. Okay? So in this chord progression, it's going to involve this E7 type chord shape. Okay? And then, remember how I played the A7 chord like this? Okay? Well, we're going to take that chord shape and we're going to use that for our D7 chord. Yeah, our D7 chord. And then also for our E7 chord. So when you play the A blues chord progression, it involves the A7 chord, which is at the 6th fret. Right, it has that E7 chord shape. And then from there we go to the D7 chord. Right. Now that's gonna be on the 5th fret, first string. First finger's on the 5th fret. Right. Then we're gonna slide that same chord shape up to the 7th fret to play the E7. Alright, so let me try this very slowly, okay? Actually, before we do that, when you first start with the A7 chord, we're going to have to transition to which chord? The D7 chord, right? So when we do that, what we're going to do is our second, third, and 4th finger, we're going to let it go. And then we're going to just guide our first finger down 1 fret to that 5th fret, 3rd string, right? Which is a C. And then we're going to put down our 3rd and 4th finger for that D7 chord. So we're going to use our first finger kind of a guide. Alright? So all these chords should work out pretty naturally with each other. So here you go, very slowly. Alright, the A blues progression right here. A7, 3, 4. D7, A7, alright, now to E7, and back to A7. Now again, when you go from the A7 to the E7, you can guide your first finger up. So we're going to guide our finger up to the 7th fret for the E7 chord. Okay, so let me try that once more with more of a funky kind of rhythm. 3, 4. just utilizing those two different chord shapes, we can kind of really stay up in this range and really kind of, you know, create more of a distinction, you know, compared to like maybe a more, you know, more of a rhythmic guitar playing down here, right? Alright, so let's try another chord progressions using the same idea of using two different chord shapes to getting, you know, this blues progression. So the next one we're going to learn is the D7 blues progression, okay? Now to do that, we're going to involve this this chord. So remember how we play A7 down here, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to move up to the 7th fret to play a D7 chord. Okay, so we're going to start off with that chord because we're going to play the D7 blues progression, right? So, right, so we play D7 chord. Now we need a G7 chord and an A7 chord. Now to play that, what we're going to do is we're going to utilize this chord shape. So if you guys remember from the other videos, if you've been watching the other videos, to play the G7 chord, we're going to take our first finger, alright, on 5th fret, 4th string, and then take our third finger, that's going to be on the 3rd string, alright, so 7th fret. Our second finger, we're going to take that, put that on the 2nd string, 6th fret, and then our pinky, we're going to put that on, what's that, 1st string, 7th fret, yes. So, if you guys remember this chord shape, that's a G7 chord, okay? So from D7, we're going to go down to G7. Okay, now after that we go back to D7. Okay, then to play A7, we're going to take that G7 chord shape, right? But we're going to play that on the, what fret is this? Oh, the 7th fret. So this G7 chord shape, we're going to play this on the 7th fret. So that becomes A7 chord, okay? So let's see, let's try, without playing the rhythm, just kind of going from chord to chord. Okay, so D7, do that for 4 measures, right? And then we go to G7. So there's really no kind of guide finger, you just kind of have to like do a quick shift and kind of form that chord in the air and just put it down. So this one's slightly harder, okay? So D7 to G7, okay, back to D7, okay, then to A7. Now it's A7 to G7, you can just slide that down, right? Just shift down to G7 and then back to D7. So let's try this one rhythm. 3, 4.